is your biggest fear?
Oh, my biggest fear. I'm really scared of heights.
Oh my god, me
Deathly,
too. Yeah.
deathly scared of heights, and I think this is really common too. But spiders. Oh
Okay,
man,
okay.
I can't. I just can't. Like, even like if, I hear like or feel a little bit of wind in my hair. I'm like, is that a
Okay.
spider? Is that a spider crawling up on my
Just feel
head?
the wings of your own hair hitting your
Yeah, and
you're like, "I gotta cut them off."
yeah, yeah. Heights and spiders. Yeah, I think that's
I
the
feel
two.
like the spiders one is common. It's just that not a lot of people want to admit that they're afraid of spiders. They're like,
Absolutely.
"Yeah, you can put a spider in my hand, but don't. But don't." But
But
like
don't do it. Don't
you
want.
could though. You
Yeah.
could though. Yeah. I want to ask because like I've seen other interviews, other conversations you've had.
Mhm,
Now, like you have, it's pretty similar to me. Like I grew up in the '90s, the early 2000s. I was really into pop music.
mhm.
I seen the kind of, I guess what you call like cover album or cover art for like this Nothing to Lose, and I was like, why does this look familiar? I was like, it just, and then I was like, oh, it's like Brian Adams' greatest hits. I found
Yep.
that, and I was like, that looks similar to that, but for some reason, I don't know if it's just like the Vance in your name, but it's
Mhm.
like I think the guy's name is Phil Visar, and he had a song like "Just Another Day in Paradise." And
Okay.
I look at that background that you have, and just the
Yeah.
scene. I'm like, man, that instantly comes to mind. I'm like, there's that song, but I'm
Totally.
just like, I'm pretty sure Peter don't want to hear that because he's like,
No,
I'm a
no, I love it.
musician
I love
too.
it. Yeah. No, I love it though. I love it.
but
Yeah. And they're
but
definitely influences.
but
Mhm.
tell me like how you got into like the 80s and 90s stuff. I have brothers. Now, I
Yeah.
used to be up in the morning to go to school, and I think they called it like Clubhouse at the time or whatever, and you'd buy like the CDs.
Yep.
So my brother would play it in the shower, and I'm just like, I have no idea what this is. And then years later, I'm like, now I know who Goo Goo Dolls are.
Yeah.
But that's how I started getting into that side of music. But do you have like a similar story, or was like
Yeah.
parents were like,
My parents for sure. My parents, raised me on, a lot of the hit music from the 80s and 90s. Actually, my dad, obviously they both grew up on sort of the what I call the hair rock era of
okay,
music.
yeah,
And it's funny because I'm actually a huge diehard fan of that stuff myself. Everything from Van Halen to Kiss to Poison to all that kind of stuff. So, but they were really big into that, especially. And my dad was actually in sort of a hair rock band when he was my age. Actually ended up getting offered a record deal down in Nashville with this company called Murr Records at the time.
okay.
And he didn't take it though. But so I was raised around that kind of music, and well, and especially country as well, because I am doing country now too,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
for sure. But the country is part of it too. But like they were, introducing me to Brian Adams and Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi is a huge influence of mine, thanks to them. So definitely, they definitely had that. Gave me that influence for sure.
So like, do you sometimes like bother your dad about that? Where it's like, dude, you could have gone to Nashville, and he's like, shut up,
Oh my
Peter.
goodness.
I don't want to
All,
talk about it.
all the time, actually. I'm like, Dad, like, like you could have been a rock star.
Yeah.
Like you're
He,
living you had my dream there. And like, yeah. So
he's just like, I want to talk about it, Peter. Shut up. Leave me,
yeah.
leave me alone.
Yeah.
I do like though that you mentioned like Bon Jovi because like now this kind of maybe aged me. Like I know that you said you grew up with it in the 80s, 90s, but
Mhm,
like I remember Bon Jovi and like I remember the song Living on a Prayer.
mhm.
And but my first one that I really watched was like on a much more countdown.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
there's like Misunderstood, and I think
Yep.
it's like It's My Life.
Mhm.
And
Well, yeah.
you're pretty young. Like I like you're younger than me, but I
Yeah.
remember watching it and I'm like, I love this new band, Bon Jovi. And then
This
my
dude,
brother
man.
was like, what are you talking about? And then he showed me
Mhm.
like the old pictures. I'm like, now I don't feel as cool listening to Bon Jovi because I'm just like,
Yeah.
look at that hair. But like I
Man.
remember watching it or like listening to the video or watching the video and listening to the song and being like, man, this is like the coolest song ever.
Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like when they show me the old stuff, I'm like, that's good. And then they did, I think like kind of like a country crossover where it's like Who Says You Can't Go Home? And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
this dude is he can do anything. I'm just like, put him on country music.
Yeah. They've had longevity for sure. But I love both those songs.
Yeah.
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 Love,
I gotta download that one later on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I don't have it. But I read that like Keith Urban is a big influence to you, and I can
Mhm.
kind of see that because again, where you grew up with this type of music, but you are in country. Keith Urban, like I always say, Garth Brooks to me was kind of like that crossover, or Shania.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
admit, like, you're Canadian, you gotta love Shania,
Yeah.
but it's like to see them kind of transgender it, like from like it's no longer just country, like it can kind of be a little bit poppy.
Yeah.
But like
Mhm.
I forget that, like Keith Urban, when you turned on CMT and you'd have like your Toby Keiths,
Mhm.
your Tim McGraw's, then like Keith Urban comes on, I'm like, oh, this guy's like a big deal because he's like
Yeah.
bringing pop into country, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm like, what do you mean? I love it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Keith Urban, man, Keith Urban is just one of those key players, for the change in country music. But yeah, like you mentioned, Garth Brooks as well. I mean, Garth Brooks, I think, was the first guy. I think something to do with him tracking better than Michael Jackson or something at the time,
Okay,
or I don't know. I can't remember the stats now, but like I just remember reading this headline one time where they said like Garth Brooks was like the first country singer to cross over
yeah,
to the pop charts, and I think I think he like was a couple steps on the chart above Michael Jackson, 1 month, or I don't
nice,
know, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, but I remember following like these kind of headlines like that and just seeing that like country music and especially like through Garth and Keith, it can be pop, it can be this kind of amalgamation of different influences.
My favorite thing, like I know like PBS sometimes will show you like around Christmas time, like they'll show like the advertisements of like buy this CD or buy this. And I don't know if it was PBS that showed it. I was just flicking through the channels one time and I think they were advertising like a Garth Brooks DVD.
Okay.
And I thought it was kind of really crazy. Now I don't know if it was just him being more humble or if they just, played it up for the DVD. But
Hmm.
they wanted to sell out, I think it was like Central Park or whatever in like New York.
Oh yeah.
And they talk about like how he kept on checking outside, or his manager, and he's like, "Oh my god, you're gonna tell me like no one showed up? Like you're telling me like no one's?" And I was just like, I don't see how that's possible, but like I
Yeah.
kind of seen it because it's New York compared to like Nashville.
Hmm.
And then they
Hmm.
kept on telling him like, "No, we have to move rows back because there's that many people." And then when he went to
Yeah.
see it, he was like overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't know if you're playing that up, Garth, because I'm pretty sure you're a big deal.
Hmm.
But I guess it's kind of tempting because you're like, if you don't know how a different audience is going to react, it's like,
Oh yeah.
right? So I thought it was kind of cool, but at the same point, like if he's being very humble, that's crazy that you're like that big of a deal in like
Yeah.
country and you're like nervous where it's like we didn't sell out at all. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, even if you got 500 people in New York, you'd be happy, but it's like backed
Yeah.
up for rows, and I'm just
I
like,
mean,
come on, Garth, come on,
yeah, one
yeah,
guy can only dream, right? I mean,
yeah.
that's crazy. That's incredible. Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about like your musical journey. Like, yes, your parents got you
Mhm.
interested in it, but like that can only get you so far. At some point,
Yeah.
you got to pick up a guitar, or you got to go
Mhm.
out and sing, and someone either says, "Buddy, get off the fucking stage,"
Yeah,
or
or
you go,
yeah,
"You know what? I'm gonna stick with it and get better." So tell me a
yeah.
little bit about that.
Um, yeah, so I think well, first of all, I need to mention that my parents, instilled, quite the work ethic in me. My family actually, I come from business people, and they, they own a couple, hardware stores and and furniture stores across the island. So, the whole business, side of things, came from them almost before music because I was just, growing up around that sort of stuff. So the work ethic was there, but hearing, about my dad playing in band and, hearing stories with that. And then, of course, my mom was in a little, singing group with her sisters, home in Lewisport, where I'm from. I'm from central
Okay,
Newfoundland, Lewisport. Um, and then so that kind of, made me want to say, okay, I'm going to start my own band. I'm going to, get some buddies and do that sort of thing. So I had my first original band actually in the sixth grade, and
okay,
we would play my original songs in the sixth grade. So at assemblies and talent shows, that sort of thing. Just thinking back to then, like, I mean, since then I've been in cover bands, Canadian, cover bands with my buddies, and classic rock cover bands because
yeah,
it's definitely a classic rock town, as we like to say. But so I was always developing my chops with just playing in these cover bands back in Central. And I just somehow realized that the only way to get anywhere with it is to do your own original music. And I just been pursuing that. And I've been in a couple original bands. And yeah, I've released pop music. Like you said, I'm definitely into pop music. And yeah, and now I'm finally doing the full circle and doing country
yeah.
music. So yeah.
So how does that come to be? Because I know, like, I like to hear musicians kind of story. Like, I know everyone will kind of harp sometimes on musicians of like they went from here, like this stage of their career to this, but then like you'll always read in the bio where it's like they're doing their own thing now. It's like, okay, well, why weren't they doing their own thing to begin with? But like, I get it when you're young, you're kind of like, okay, I want to get my foot in the door first, do something, and then kind of like, then I'll branch out. Like, and I never really thought about it, but like sometimes when you see artists now and you're like, why aren't they charting? And you're kind of like, that gotta be upsetting to them. It's like, no, they've done that. Like, I
Yeah.
remember when Bruno Mars first came on the scene, I was like, man, this guy's pretty good. Like, you don't see him charting now, but
Yeah.
you still like his music, and he's probably like, dude, like, you know who I am. If you
Yeah.
want to go listen to me. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
I read, like, I think you said 2018 or so, like you moved away from the province to
No,
pursue. Okay.
no. So I actually no, I moved. So I'm in 2018 is when I moved from Central
Oh,
into
to
St.
okay.
John's. Yeah. So I've just been I've been a regular, here playing on George Street and everything here in St. John's. But so I just I decided to do that and decided to kind of focus on music as being my profession full time, and that's kind of what I've been doing. Yeah.
So like, how do you kind of separate, like, when someone does say, okay, I'm focusing on like my own individual art now, like,
Hmm.
take me through that process, because like I know I'm in a different realm than you in
Hmm.
terms of, like, we're still in media, but I remember starting this podcast and trying to figure out, like, do I want to be the funny guy? Do I want to be the guy that's like, sits here with a
Hmm.
suit and tie and be like, actually, we're gonna have a very and I was just like, man, like, that it doesn't come across as me. Like, I want
No.
to come across like
Yeah.
very, like, when you turn on, if you see me on the street, you're like, man, it sounds like he's doing a podcast with me on the street like you would. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
that's what I want you to get. But like,
Hmm.
is that like the kind of crossroads that you came at? Like, when I
Yeah.
sing at a local bar compared to singing on stage, I want you to feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to mention because, like I said, I had released some singles under the pop genre, and I just found like I wasn't being myself. I wasn't being true to where I came from, the kind of music I grew up around, and it was actually only until I started playing here on George Street in St. John's, and I started, just playing these cover gigs with my acoustic guitar that I really was like, okay, so the pop thing, that's not really me. I'm more of a
Yeah.
singer-songwriter, country, you know, pop rock, organic kind of individual, and that's what made me realize that. So it's great you mentioned that because I do feel like I want, and at this point in my life, I want to do, what's really and truly me. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like if someone goes to watch you at like a pub or a bar or whatever, and
Mhm.
they're paying for you, it's like they want you to be like, okay, he's really into what he's doing compared to,
Mhm.
I'm just doing it because I know you know the song and I want you to hear my version of the song. And they're like, okay, but you're not into it. Like, it's like a whole
Yeah.
loop where it's like, but I'm
Uh,
singing it because it's popular and you'll know it. But then they're like, but you're not into it. So what difference
yeah.
does it make? Like, I don't know if you know this guy, but I'll mention it. Like, Bailey Jordan was a guy that we've had on
Oh
this
yeah.
podcast before. And
Yeah.
like, Bailey comes across like he's very polite, very nice, but he's very like genuine with the sense of him saying like, if you like what if you go and see me, you know what to expect. But it's never like a come across like, I'm Bailey Jordan, this is me. It's almost like, you know what, Bailey, like, now the way you presented it to me, I'm gonna go listen to it, and I'm just like, yeah, I can see that as a Bailey Jordan song. And I
Yeah.
don't see it as anything else anymore. Like, if
Yeah.
someone's like, I'm covering Bailey Jordan, I'm just like, no, no, you're not, because that's Bailey. That's what
Yeah.
I came here to see. So
Exactly. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the ethnicity, and I guess the authenticness of it is more or
Yeah.
less like, that's what you come to see. Like, a really good example that I think is like, everyone gives credit to Luke Combs for Fast Car, and I will too, because it is a good version. But
Mhm.
like, nothing beats Tracy's version. But
Yeah.
if anyone is going to do a version that makes it sound that good, it's Luke.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I feel like sometimes online you'll see like the hatred of like, how could he? I'm like, listen, he did a damn good job
He
of
did.
that
He did.
song. So if you're gonna like be like, I still like the other version, like, that's fine. But
Yeah.
God, that could have sounded horrible, but it didn't. So
I know.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, some people are purists, I think, and don't want to see, people do fresh takes with older music. I think it works well for Luke because he is such a genuine soul, and it comes through in his music that like,
yeah,
his I'll say, his his brand of music and his brand of country music that he does is, it's honest, it's raw, it's real. It's just him and acoustic guitar. There's no show. He's not dressed up in any funky outfits. It's him.
Yeah,
And I think that's a lot, I would say there's some comparisons there, Tracy Chapman and that song
yeah.
in particular, because, there's definitely a through line there. Yeah.
So I guess the other aspect I want to kind of get into is like, like the musical side, you want to be authentic to yourself, but like, do you have any, like, do you sometimes wonder about like certain gimmicks you have? Like, because I feel like this outfit you have on right now would work for you. Like if you showed up on stage every night with it,
Mhm.
like because some artists do that. Like I'm here for the
Absolutely.
music, but like I identify you as, okay, like jean jacket guy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like when I see Luke Combs, I don't think I'd ever see Luke Combs without a hat on and like maybe plaid or like a big size shirt, and then like that's Luke Combs. Like
Yeah. No,
but if I ever
absolutely.
seen
Yeah.
him without a hat on, I'd be like, I don't know if you're Luke Combs, man.
Yeah, that's true though. It's funny you say that because I actually don't wear a hat that much. I just really like this hat, but actually, I think that like I don't know if it's just where like I mean I'm into that gimmicky kind of stuff,
Yeah,
Anyway, like when I told myself, okay, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be me, I'm gonna do it's gonna be country music, because country music now, like I said, it's pop and it's rock influence as well. But when I made that decision to be authentic, as we'll say, I had to think about, okay, well, I all this kind of, I'll say, gimmicky, showy kind of stuff, jean
yeah,
jackets, whatever, bells and whistles, synthesizers, all this kind of stuff that you wouldn't even believe actually is in my
yeah,
song, but
yeah,
in the background somewhere. But I had to say to myself, okay, well, I mean, I still like that stuff. I
yeah.
still like pop music. I still like the flashiness of that industry, that particular side of things. I guess I referenced Kiss earlier. I mean, I still love I'll say the showmanship side of music, and I still love, yeah, like the gimmicks. I mean, I like that stuff too. So it's just finding a balance and finding, okay, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be honest. The songs are gonna be good songs, songs that I can play on acoustic guitar in a pub and it still sound like me and sound real.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna blend it with this other side of me. That's the showmanship
because
side.
it's still something that you're
Mhm.
interested in, right? And it's something that
Absolutely,
you,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like I think about it in the way of like kind of the evolution of where country music's gone. Like you can turn on like a Reba or a Garth Brooks or Brooks and Dunn, and you kind of know like 80s, 90s, maybe like early 2000s. But like there's a difference in listening to like a Brooks and Dunn from like a 2000s, maybe to like
Mhm.
the like early 90s. The same way as like early Keith Urban to now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean like they changed. It just means like they probably were like, I like this sound. I want to go with this. It's
Yeah.
like, I'll listen to Sam Hunt, and I remember the first time listening to Sam Hunt, I'm like, why is he talking to me while I'm listening to his music?
That's what I think too. I'm
I'm like,
glad you say that.
stop.
Yeah.
I'm just like, stop talking to me. I'm
I know.
listening to you. But then I'll download the song, listen to it in the car, and then you have Taylor Swift doing it too. I
Mhm.
think maybe Taylor did it first, and then, but like,
Yeah.
I was just, the aspect of it is like, you know what, you're right. Like, you're telling me a story, which is kind of like what country's always been about. But now you're talking me through the story. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you can sing and you can talk. Like, I think there's a song. I think he talked. I don't know it might be Goodbye or something from Sam.
Okay.
But like he's like, yeah, the time that we drove down to the
So
CMAs and I got drunk, and I'm just like, why are you telling me this in a
so
song?
yeah, so that's there's a song he got called "Break Up in a Small Town."
That, yeah, yeah,
The course slaps. It's like the
yeah,
best pop rock anthemic chorus. Like I want to flip it myself and do something with it. It's
yeah,
that good. I really do. I really do.
yeah,
But the verses, he's just talking the whole time. He's like,
yeah,
you remember that time we were parked down by the river and you
yeah,
did this. I'm like, I just, I got no interest in that. But I,
yeah.
I appreciate it because it's his thing and he's a storyteller. And I guess to him, that's part of this, that's telling his story in his own way. So,
So the funny story about that, like I like how you brought that up because when I remember, I think it was like House Party was the first song I ever heard from Sam Hunt. And like that has like very little talking. It's just him. And I was
mhm,
like, okay. And then when I started hearing like him talk, I'm like, did I download the wrong song? Like, is this him on stage, like just telling us about? I was like, fuck. And then like I listened to it some more. I'm like, oh, there is singing involved. It's just like I just didn't give it a chance. But like that might be like a stick for him or something that he likes. But there are definitely songs that I'm just like, imagine if you were trying to cover a Sam Hunt song,
yeah,
and then someone's like, you don't sound nothing like I liked your singing, but you doing the monologue doesn't sound like Sam Hunt.
yeah.
And I'm just like, of course it doesn't.
Yeah,
because I don't sound like Sam Hunt.
I know. Yeah, I've tried it too. So
Yeah.
no,
And like
you don't want to do it.
you got it, and you envision in your mind Sam Hunt. So if like it's like if a girl's just like that time we went down to, and it's like you ruined it for me because now I've only heard Sam Hunt ever talk to me like that. Like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's like seeing him. I'm not sounding like trying to make it mean, but it's like someone covering a Taylor Swift song where she talks and it's a male,
I
and it's just
know.
like it's like no,
Hmm.
it's like I've only ever heard Taylor say that to me. What are you? I'm lost. Just sing,
Yeah.
please.
No,
Yeah.
it's funny you said that too, because I actually did a gig at the Rob Roy last night and
Okay.
on George Street, and someone requested some Taylor Swift, so I gave it a shot, and I got about
Yeah.
halfway through the song. I'm like, I am not Taylor Swift. This is not
Yeah.
gonna work. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it just completely shit the bed with it, but
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a good time. But yeah.
Yeah. That is when the audience either like applauds your attempt or they turn on you, and then you're like, "How about some original music?" And then they're like, "Yeah, sure. That's what we're. Yeah, go back to your original music
Yeah,
because no."
I know.
Yeah, it's like a
So,
stand-up comedian, right? Like you're like
mhm.
telling jokes, and if they hit, you're like, "This is great." But then when they don't hit, and they're like, "Do you got anything else?" You're like, "Fuck!" Like I gotta go dig in my bag.
I know.
like like
Yeah.
like I thought this was gonna kill. It's like it was killing you, but not the way I thought it would.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
I want to ask you, like, now with nothing to lose, that's
Mhm.
like your latest song that's out, or like premiering,
Yep.
whatever. But tell me a little bit about that project because this is something that I find interesting. Is like when people kind of bounce around from different, I guess, like directors or composers or like whoever they're working with, and sometimes it's like they wanted a sound or a certain type, but like tell me through the process because I think it's just an interesting aspect of like why you chose certain people and
Yeah.
why like you chose this song like to make it like, oh yeah, this is the one that we're releasing. And what do you
Yeah.
think of it? Yeah,
So like well, first of all, I should mention Clint Curtis. He's my producer,
there you go.
and I've worked with him in the past on a number of occasions. And he just has a knack, first of all, for like just the pop production, the sheen, the quality that comes with trying to produce what's called the top 40 sound. And I just think he knocks it out of the park. First of all, but really like I think I wrote this song over the winter. So I got to tell you, I wrote this song in my apartment. Snow's falling down. I'm alone. Like it's the total like just not the right moment to write a summer
Yeah.
anthemic single, about driving in the hot sun and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But so I wrote this single, because I was thinking back on a time, growing up listening to Keith Urban, listening to these songs on road trips in the
Yeah.
summer, all those kind of vibes. And I just said to myself that I just thought that this single could be really symbolic. There's nothing, there's nothing to lose. At this point, if I want to do country, I can do country. If I want to just be myself, I'm just going to be myself. I'm not going to try to be anybody else. And
Yeah.
and I approached Clint about it, and I said, hey, I think we're doing something different. I know country music now, especially in Canada, is really big, and I've always been inspired by the songs coming out of Nashville and that sort of thing. And he just said, yeah, like let's try and meld the both worlds together, with the pop sensibilities and just the country hooks, the banjo riffs, and things like that. And yeah, he just kind of put it together, kind of a love child of both our music minds. And yeah, just really trying to create something interesting, and still fit in with what's happening in country radio and that sort of thing.
See, I like how you took me through that trip because when you were saying in the winter that you wrote this song and you're like, yeah, I don't know, I'm looking at the time, like, was he like locked in like Snowmageddon or like was there like an avalanche coming? He's like, you know what, I gotta make this song because I got nothing to lose at this point. Like an avalanche
Yeah,
is coming right in my
yeah,
house. Yeah,
hmm,
yeah.
yeah,
But you're right. Like when you said about Keith Urban and like summer hits, I think of like if Keith Urban had to release in the winter time, something like Long Hot Summer, I'd be like, dude, Keith, this has nothing. Like I'm not feeling it right now. But then when you're
yeah.
driving down a highway and you listen to a lot, you're like,
Oh
all
yeah,
right, perfect. Good
yeah,
timing, Keith. Good. It's almost like you knew.
yeah,
Like the equivalent of
absolutely.
writing a Christmas song, being like, I know it's July, but like we're gonna release our Christmas song now. And I'm like, you know what? Like, okay, I feel it, but like I think I'd feel it a little bit more around
Yeah.
Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like I think it's because I'm a big fan of the Backstreet Boys, and I think this last year it was like they released Happy Days around October, But
Oh,
like,
okay.
I didn't see the cover art or anything for it first. I was like, yeah, I was like, this sounds like a good celebration song. But then when I seen the cover art was more like Christmassy, I was like, okay, sure. And then when Christmas time came out and I played it, I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, now I'm really into it. Like,
Yeah.
god damn. But like, I'll listen to it in the summer and I'll look at the artwork and I'm like, if I'd never seen the artwork, I could probably listen to this during the summer. But now that I
Yeah.
know it's like a Christmas song for me,
It's ruined. It's
yeah,
just
it's
ruined.
real.
You'll never be able to
Yeah,
listen to
yeah,
it any other
yeah.
time.
I can listen to Morgan Walleen's like, was it like One Thing at a Time or like whatever that song?
Yeah.
Because I've
Yep.
heard it during the World Juniors, and then I was like,
Oh,
now
okay.
that is now like a Christmas song to me. But because it still has like a summery vibe, I can listen to it all year round. But I'll
Yeah.
always remember it for being a World Junior song.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's fun.
people are
Like,
like crazy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's sometimes it's just that's what it is for people. It's if
yeah,
you heard it at a particular moment in your life, and it just it's always going to be that moment to you when you listen to that song. And
yeah,
I think personally, like this single that I have happening now. I mean, this I want this song to be that kind of song for people as
yeah.
well. Oh, I heard this summer 2023. I want people to look back and say, oh, this is when he first got started in country music and whatever. So I can definitely think of those themes for sure.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like this comparison, but I'll throw it out there and then you can be like, fuck you,
Okay.
Tobin. But like,
All right.
like when I heard Nothing to Lose, I think of now like there's certain songs that you kind of remember, but then you kind of like you forget the artist, or you're like, man, I remember hearing this at one point in my life. Then you go back and dig it up. And I found out after I was like, I think it's a Crush, and I think the song is Live. And I've
Oh
heard
yeah.
that all my life on like the radio, but just never really like sync the two and two together. And that's what I think it's like for me when I listen to that. When I get the vibes of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm sounding like such like I'm a, like someone like
No,
20, like the vibes. But it's just like
that's
I
great.
I get the similarity to it where I'm just kind of like, if I listen to this on a Monday and it's raining, then I'm like, yeah, I'll keep it on. And if I'm
Yeah.
listening to it and it's Wednesday and it's sunny, I'll like it's not like a mood song in sense of like, oh man, I'll only listen to like 3 a.m. by Matchbox 20 when I'm depressed and it's
Yeah.
raining. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like I'll listen to it all the time. But I think that in my mind that's a compliment. You're just kind of like, where the fuck do you go?
No, no, I know what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
But
Yeah.
it's like I like it for that aspect, but there are certain songs that like I will be driving around and I'll be like, no, I can't listen to you right now. I'm not in
Yeah.
that mood. Like I can't like Simple Plan, I'm just a kid. I'm like, I'm an adult, but like
Uh-huh.
everything's going okay. And then there are some days that I'm just like, you know what? I'm late for this appointment.
Yep.
It's piss pouring rain out. I can't answer my phone. You know what?
Yeah.
Then I'll turn on I'm just a kid because it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Good
life
life.
is a nightmare right
Nightmare.
now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely, man.
I want to ask you a little bit, like we like to do a little bit of the fun aspect, but before I get at, I want to ask you one more serious question, and then we'll
Okay.
get to like some fun stuff. But like, I want to ask you, I guess it's still kind of fun, but like, because you're still relatively young, so like, have you ever gone on stage and like you're like, okay, I got this. It's all going my way. Like I know what I'm gonna do, and it just goes like completely off the hook because somebody either yells or screams at something that you're like, okay, I don't know how to settle that down, or like something just happens throughout the whole set. You're like, it just killed my show, and people are like,
Yeah.
you still did a good job, but you're like, no, inside I know that
Yeah.
killed my show.
Yeah. Oh, all the time. Like, I mean, every second week. I
All the
mean,
time. What? Come on now, Peter.
no, but it's like, I mean, you know, sometimes it's a case of where, someone's just not having a great day, not having a great day, not
Yeah,
into,
yeah,
not,
yeah.
coming, especially, when I'm doing a show, if it's a pub show, people are coming, it's the end of the work week or whatever, and they're coming just, they want to just drown their sorrows away. Sometimes they don't
They
really
want to hear
care.
sing us the song of Piano Man. You are their
Exactly.
piano
Yeah,
man.
that's what I mean. And so sometimes, sometimes they, they don't particularly, I'm not particularly their cup of tea
Yeah,
that day. And then other times, I mean, not to keep referencing last night, but again, like I was
yeah,
a couple girls started jumping up on stage,
yeah,
after probably a few too many tequila, and just
yeah,
started
yeah.
jumping up on stage and trying to. So it's like, sometimes you'll have a couple moments like that that'll just derail your night a little bit, and
Yeah.
change your spirit. But I mean, I love what I do. I love playing music, and I like these are good stories. They make good stories, man.
Yeah.
I like the adventure that music has been taking me on. So There you go.
That's when you tell those girls, like, it was probably your mom and her friends, like, "Mom, I know you're happy that you're here, but, like, Jesus, you're embarrassing me, like, can
That's
you get
funny.
off the stage?" Like,
Yeah, my mom would too. Trust me, my mom would too. So
my mom's the type that when we were doing public speaking when we were younger, she would be like, you'd be like 5 rows deep, like, in the stands or whatever, and she would be mouthing what you're supposed, and I'm like, "I
yeah,
swear to God," I'm like, "I really hope I'm not a prime minister one day," because they'd have, like, the double-edged camera, one on me and then one
yeah,
on my mom, and it's just like, "I swear to take the taxes down," and she's like, and they're like, "So who's really making the laws around here? Your mom?" I'm just like, "I'm writing it, but I gotta
yeah.
practice it to somebody, and she's the only one that's gonna tolerate it." So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So Pierre, to have a bit of the fun aspect of this, we like to play maybe like a couple questions of just random questions.
Okay.
So I call it that I lose all the credibility in the world for my podcast because it's literally like a random question generator.
Okay.
Um, so the first one they have, do you remember your favorite like TV show or movie growing up?
Oh, this is you're gonna have a good kick at this. My favorite movie still is Back to the Future. Back
Really?
to the
Okay.
Future. Yeah, probably Back to the Future. Yep. So there you go.
And like what draws you to Back to the Future? Like,
Um, I think.
because that's
Well,
out before your time.
oh
Like it's
yeah,
out
yeah.
before my time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but again, like I said, I was really influenced. You know, from the 80s. You know, I was really influenced by the 80s, and I seen Back to the Future, and I seen a number of things. I seen that he was a kid trying to chase the rock star dream, and
Yeah.
he had the best looking girl in school, and he got to travel through different eras, and I just thought it was just the coolest thing. He had a cool 4x4 truck
Yeah.
Tacoma, and which I actually had one for a while, and I
Okay.
but I sold it. But so I just I don't know, I just something about that, the whole, I don't know, production on it, everything. It's just got a cool, vibe. He's got a cool storyline. He goes back and he meets his parents. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I think about that. I'm like, that's something I would do for sure.
I feel like I can't remember it now. I know I bought it during COVID, but like because I was really into journalism, and there was like I think the tagline to the movie is like when the journalist becomes the rock star. So they go on like this whole kind of like they're just supposed to like kind of interview a local band or whatever, and then
Yeah.
this local band becomes kind of successful, but they take this guy as like their journalist, and he gets to live the life of a rock star.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
And like I've never I don't think I've seen it, but I like the concept and one day I will watch it, but like I bought it based on like sometimes you look at a movie and like I like the actors, I like
Yeah.
the plot. This is like I looked at it during like COVID and I was just like it kind of sounds like what I want to do for my career. Like for
Yeah.
once, it's like
Is that
someone invites you to something and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm living your lifestyle."
yeah, I think, is that Almost Famous? Is that what it
There you
is?
go. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
That's a
Yeah.
good one too. I could have
Yeah.
said that one, actually. I could have said that one.
Yeah.
So
Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
Is
That's a good
it
one.
does it hold up or is it almost like it's shit? No.
No, it's a good. I see.
Yeah, okay.
I love movies, so I can appreciate almost everything. But
Okay.
no, that's a good
Good.
one. You should watch that one.
You
Absolutely.
save your answer because if you're like, man, it's the greatest movie ever, I'd be like, and then I watched it like, get me Peter on the phone
No,
right the fuck now.
I'm giving you realistic expectations.
Yeah. This one is somewhat random, but I just want to ask it anyway. But it's like it says, what's like either some of the best advice you got or the worst advice you got in your career?
Oh, um,
It's like the
the
best advice I got was don't do Tobin tonight. The worst advice was when someone said, do his show anyway. And now I'm here. No, no.
yeah, no, no. The best advice. That's a hard one because I've been given a lot of great advice.
Why one like kind of
Um,
sticks out, I guess, like because like I understand like people give you all kinds of advice, and sometimes you're like that actually worked here, this worked here, but like something that like really sticks out or pinpoints that you're like,
mhm.
man, okay, that stuck with me for a reason, obviously.
I can't remember who said it or if I got it from like
Like a book or
a VH1
yeah,
like special or something,
yeah,
but I'd say it's the fact that at the end of the day, at least in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of a lot of famous musicians, artists, I don't think it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about the audience. It's about the connection, the interaction, and it's about good songs. It's not about I mean, I guess it can be an intrinsic thing. I think it can be, you know, music can be therapeutic and all that sort of thing. But like, I mean, I think the best advice I think I got is like, don't make it about yourself, make
Okay.
it about this it's a service. I think, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, as a songwriter and a storyteller, if you're podcasting, if you're writing a
Yeah.
book, whatever, I don't think maybe it shouldn't be always about you. It should be, about the service, the service you're giving to somebody, that this
Yeah.
storytelling, make it about the audience, especially in songwriting, I mean, I think personally, I mean, with songwriting, I mean, you should write something that's relatable. It doesn't need to be, I don't think, some like epic monologue about yourself. I think it should be it should be like I said, that service.
I like that.
So there
That
you
should
go.
be that
Yeah.
should be your next single. It's like an epic monologue, and then someone's just like, I like these other songs better. It sounded like he was engaged with us. This one just sounds
Yeah,
like
there
he's
you
all
go.
about himself.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Peter Vance for coming on to the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thank you for listening, and good night.